Hi, I'm Chike Coleman of Sound on Sight, and that's Chuck of the Illinois Times and the News Gazette. And this is Real Reviews, the Cinematic Underground, the show where we discuss the movies that have come out this week and give you our review. So this week I saw 3 films, Chuck.
3?
Yes,
oh my
3
gosh.
whole amazing films.
A red letter week for you.
I finally did my homework.
A film critic who sees films. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, who would know? So this week I wanted to first start talking about a film that, has excitement, intelligence, and is really a touchstone of why we go to see movies, and that's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Oh, and we wish it was Transformer 4, but that's not going to
Why do we wish it was Transformers 4?
Because we wish that their dialogue was smart and, the movie didn't suck because it's full of explosions and Michael Bay just
keep moving, keep going.
On
Back to the apes.
So Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the sequel of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which we'll probably talk about here as well, which was a 2011 film that starred, the name?
James Franco.
No, well, not James Franco, the other one.
John Lithgow.
Andy
Serkis.
Andy Serkis, James Franco, and John Lithgow, thank you. And it basically featured the origins of Caesar, the ape, because James Franco's character was working on a science experiment to cure Alzheimer's disease, which his father was suffering from. Mm-hmm. What did you think of Rise of the Planet of the Apes before we go into Dawn of the Planet of the Apes?
I really liked it. It was not much for character development. It was a movie that moved very, very quickly from one action scene to the next. And I don't mean action, but something important happened in every single scene in that movie, and it hit the ground running. Despite that, I thought it ended up being a very smart movie and one of the better reboots because it took the time to show you how everything develops. It was very logical in how it set out its premise. And of course, the effects just blew me away.
The effects blew me away. I especially like the idea of sign language for apes because I know that's done in real life practically.
That's what I mean. It was smart. It took as much real life stuff as possible and then extrapolated it out.
The one scene I really love from Rise of the Planet of the Apes involves Caesar asking James Franco's character, "Am I your friend or am I your pet?" And later it's made very clear to Caesar that he is the pet. And he is taken into a sanctuary, and he basically hates it there because all that happens to him is that he sees other apes around him who don't have his level of intelligence, and he decides, enough of this, we're revolting, and of course by the end of the film, all hell breaks loose. I really loved Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and so too with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which follows up from the events of Rise 10 years later. We have Caesar basically playing a king-like character who has been at peace with his community of apes that he has given the Alzheimer's drug to, who are all equally as smart as him, and they encounter their first human in 10 years. Turns out that there's a human colony not too far away who is searching for a source of power because they need it to survive and kind of regrow their own community. And so we have Caesar basically saying to these humans, "No, we don't want you here," and the humans saying, "Please, we need your help." And the power struggle between apes and humans kind of begins from there. And of course there is one a-hole character, played by Kirk Acevedo, who's totally against apes because at the conclusion of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, people contracted what's called the simian flu, which is the Alzheimer's experimental drug is actually fatal to humans, and so one human caught it and passed it on to other human beings, and now 1 in every 500 person is immune to that chemical, which means a lot of people died and a lot of people are upset, and so the clash begins. Chuck, what did you think of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes?
Movie was way too long. Way too long. A lot of repetition going on, especially in that last 45 minutes. This movie should have been at least 20 to maybe even 30 minutes shorter than it was. And that ruined it for me. It just seemed to be needlessly prolonging things and should have wrapped up, I think, with much more dramatic impact had it come to its point sooner. I loved the first hour. I thought the first hour was great. I loved the interaction between the apes and the humans. I loved the fact that Caesar was very much a pacifist in many ways, trying to keep the peace, and had met the one human, Jason Clarke, from Zero Dark 30, who shared in his view of things, you know, as far as helping, the communities helping each other so they both could survive. I really liked that. And of course, you knew it was going to go wrong. But it wore out its welcome for me.
I really feel like what you say right there is correct, that it is a bit too long. I think a lot of that has to do with the character of Koba's storyline and the little side plot with the son being involved in there. I feel like they only had a son character for Caesar because Jason Clarke's character had a son, and the similarity there being the fact that they're both family, I won't say family men.
Well, no, it's concerns. I mean,
familial
they have familial
individuals,
concerns. Yeah.
and wanting to build their communities.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, commonality between the characters.
The
yeah.
shocking thing is that Gary Oldman's character really isn't much of a villain.
No, and I think that was one of the things I liked about the film. Almost, you could understand everyone's point of view.
Yeah.
Even Koba, the revolutionary ape, you could understand completely why he was doing what he was doing, even though you might not agree with it.
Right.
I enjoyed that too, and you're right, the Oldman character, while you wouldn't agree with everything he did, it made sense.
I feel like Koba's storyline was a bit too long, too drawn out. I feel like after there's a scene where Koba sees the weapons, and instead of really informing Caesar, he pulls a Mufasa from the Lion King.
Yeah, it's a coup.
And pulls a coup. I don't really feel like that storyline needed to take as long as it did. I felt like all the times where he said, but sir, they're not trustworthy. You know, human work, pointing to all the scars on his face and talking about...
He speaks in a British accent? An British accent? Did I miss that?
I don't know.
That's how you heard it in your head?
Yeah, a little bit. So, basically...
Is saying his tag imported from the British Museum of Anthropology or something?
I don't know,
okay.
but like...
Just wonder if I missed
the
that.
idea of that character just constantly running back to Caesar and saying, but this is what happened. This you can't ignore.
Well, that's what I mean. They make their point, and then they make it again.
Like the first time he says it would have been enough.
Right. And again, the battle sequences at the end, they're way too long. They're repetitious. And that's a problem with most action films these days. I did enjoy him taking over the tank. That was cool.
That's what everybody loves about that movie,
that was
taking over
really
the tank.
sharp. Well, because that's the shift in power right there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're about evenly matched until that happens, and then the humans are screwed at that point.
Yeah, it's all over.
But the constant battles. I mean, like I say, I wanted to like this movie more than I did. This is the second movie this year for me that I was really liking and then got ruined by the end.
What was the first again?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, I can understand why you would say that for both films.
So I obviously wasn't as high on this as you were. I'm hoping the next time they do this, and the next one's planned for 2016, they cut things down a little bit.
I mean, I really like the ideas behind it and the ideas of communication and how one false bad move can destroy the communication of an entire people, because that happens with Americans all the time. So I love those little tidbits that they do in there. I just wish there was more of it.
Yeah, more quiet moments.
More quiet moments.
I think my favorite moment is when the boy is teaching the orangutan how to read.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
I mean, the reflections on what it takes to be humane are the things that I think make that franchise so strong.
Right.
And they don't play to that enough.
Yeah, that emotional pull.
They need to draw that out more and pull. If it had been filled with the more humane moments, would you have liked Dawn of the Planet of the Apes more?
As long as they had those humane moments in a movie that was an hour and 50 minutes, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
I mean, come on. I've often said, if a movie's past 90 or 100 minutes, you better have something really important to say or have something really spectacular to show me. And very few movies are able to do that.
I mean, I still was able to give it, a perfect score based on the fact that, they had those humane moments, and I hadn't seen that in such a long time that it kind of had a stronger pull with me than I anticipated. What did you grade it when you...
2.5 out of 4.
Okay. So that's our review for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. The next film that we want to talk about today is one where you're higher on it than I am, and this is a bit of a surprise to me. That's Life Itself, the documentary about the life of film critic Roger Ebert. Make no mistake, I've talked on this program numerous times about my admiration for Roger Ebert as a human being and as a film critic being a wonderful person. And I was excited for this documentary when it was revealed that they were going to be creating it, and even more enthused by the fact that it was going to be directed by Hoop Dreams director Steve James. I found it to be a little bit underwhelming, even though it did cover all the high points of Roger's life, from basically what his family did to his work in the newspaper press to actually working at the Chicago Sun-Times to his rivalry with Siskel when they started their sneak previews program, to his marriage, to him gaining even more notoriety because that show continued on for so long, and then to his illness and subsequent passing. What did you think of Life Itself?
Well, I'm interested as to why you were underwhelmed by it.
I was underwhelmed by it because I wanted to learn where his writing style came from, where those moments of cracking in memories from his life, where all that came from. I always know where the passion of being a film critic comes from. It comes from loving and enjoying movies and seeing society in different ways. What I'm more curious about is he would interject pieces of his own life there, memories that pulled him more towards the film. And I wanted to see where did that part of... When did it go from being film criticism to poetry about film criticism and life? Because there's a distinct divide somewhere within his professional career where it stopped being about film criticism and it started being about what does the movie bring to life and society. I feel like there was that shift within Roger Ebert's writing. Either that or it's always been there and I never noticed it. What did you think of the film, though?
I don't think it was about his writing. It was about him. It was about how he changed over the course of his life to become the person who was able to deal with death in the way that he did.
Yes, but you asked me specifically, why did I find the film underwhelming? And I'm saying because
That's
I didn't...
fine, but you just asked me what I thought. I'm not negating what you said. You
Oh,
asked
okay.
me what I thought.
Okay, keep going.
And that impressed me. I was never as high on him as you are, obviously. But the things that moved me most in the movie was how he just would not quit, dealing with that one blow after another. I mean, it seems though he felt as though he had one health concern under control and then something else unexpected would come along. And the strength of the marriage and his wife. I mean, that stuff I found to be, you don't see that often. And I thought it was really gutsy that he gave James that sort of accessibility to him when he's completely vulnerable. And that's what impressed me most about the film. And that's what, I guess that's what surprised me most about the film.
I love the fact that he would not quit as well. I love learning more about Chaz Ebert. To me, she is the heart of the film, outside of, Roger expressing how much he loves his work. His real love, to me, was Chaz. And it's good to see her kind of honored, in a way.
Yeah.
And fleshed out more in terms of that relationship and that marriage. And I was surprised that they met in AA, because I heard a different story, that they'd met when he was at a dinner or something. Rather. So it was interesting to know that that wasn't really actually the first time.
Well, but that's also is a tribute to him that he kept that under wraps. Obviously that was a very personal thing, that he would allow that, or that she would allow that to be revealed in the movie,
Yeah.
I think is, commendable as well.
The only thing that I found overly heartbreaking was the end, learning about how things ended with Ebert's life. That really broke me to some extent. But I also, at the end of the film, after several hours after watching it, I realized that was his last individual decision as a person, and that's where he valued that he got to make one last step toward the destiny he wanted.
I do wish there was more stuff with him and Siskel in it, though. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
that stuff's hilarious.
It is.
It's hilarious. I mean, you see both these guys with their guard down when they're going at each other.
Yeah,
and I
they
just love that.
bite and bite and bite, and it's
That
just
whole
like,
thing
ah.
could be a movie. Just
Yeah.
the whole history of that show with those two could be a documentary in and of itself.
I said that in my review, that I would love to see what that would have been like, because it's clear by the time that Siskel passes, that even if they don't have the best friendship in the world, they did have a great friendship and a love for one another.
Well, I remember the last shows that he was on, and you could tell a shift in things because those last shows, Siskel wasn't there. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, he was doing it by phone.
By phone from his hospital bed, and you could tell the tone was different, which and understandably so. But yeah, hey, those experiences change everything.
And they shaped him. I think that's
Sure,
where he
both
went.
of them.
I think that's where he went from, oh, I'm just going to write about movies, to I'm going to let everybody in as much as possible because it hurt not to be let in by the one other person that I cared about. So I really think it's a strong documentary for what it is, but I still believe that there are other things that I would have loved to see the documentary focus on. Did you get a chance to review that? I don't know whether you...
Yeah, I did.
Because it was on demand. We didn't get to see it in theaters, at least not yet. So that's a review of Life Itself. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars.
I gave it 3.5 out of 4.
Oh, so you were much well, you were much kinder on it than me. All right. Well, the last film that we have to talk about today is one that will be coming to the Art Theater next week. Is that
there right now.
It's there right now? Okay. So it's there right now. And that's Snowpiercer, directed by Bong Joon-ho. I first knew about this film almost a year and a half before its current release today. Snowpiercer is about a train, specifically people on a train in the year 2031. Because of global warming, scientists decide to shoot. Are those missiles or rockets?
They don't go into it in the film, really. I mean, all I know is that they tried to reverse global warming, and it goes
fails
bad.
miserably. Yeah.
Yes.
So it fails miserably, and people get put into this long monorail type train that is essentially a class system of poor to rich. The further back on the train you go, the poor people are. The more to the front of the train that you head, people are rich. The lead character in this film is called Carver, played by Chris Evans of Captain America fame. I believe Jamie Bell is also in this film, as well as Octavia Spencer from The Help, and Tilda Swinton makes an appearance as somebody from the higher class system, and also Ed Harris. The film is basically about one group's journey from the back to the front of the train to try and, gain more health and food for their family.
They're pissed off.
They're really upset, and the lengths to which the rich are willing to keep the poor down astounded me in this film. What did you think of Snowpiercer?
Well, it's ridiculous.
It
I
is.
mean, let's just get that out of the way right now. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever from a logical point of view. But once you just kind of dive into the concept,
it's engrossing and immersive.
Well, I think the thing that becomes engrossing and immersive about it is the production design. Visually, this is just dynamite. It's a dynamite film, and I'm sure that the production design team on this must have had just a hell of a lot of fun, because every car on the train is different in some way, and as they progress towards the front of the train, they go through different train cars that represent different worlds or different things, and they're all just beautiful to look at. I can't even describe it now. The sun house, or there's a car where they're growing fruits and vegetables that have been wiped out. There's an aquarium car where they walk through, and the fish surround them even on the top. It's an aquarium thing.
It's the most amazing aquarium I've ever seen in my life.
Which, of course, is not even possible at all.
Yeah.
There's no way it could happen, but who cares? There's the disco car. And you forgot one of the people in the film that I loved most, Alicia Witt. She plays a teacher in the education car, and she is insane. And of course, they're only educating the rich kids.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah. And what they say about the poor,
it's all propaganda.
Like in kindergarten, exactly.
Yeah, it's all propaganda that they're feeding these kids. And it's, of course, the most intellectually stimulating classroom you'll ever see.
Yeah.
The salon car. The people are having their hair done.
And there's a tailor car for you to get your suit.
And you've got Chris Evans and his motley crew and his rags and dirt and filth walking through these things.
They even get sushi at one point.
Yes.
And then Tilda Swinton's forced to eat what they usually eat, which is this gel-like substance.
Yeah, these black gelatinous blocks.
Which are made out of what, bugs? Is that right?
Well, yeah, something along that line. But just the visual contrast of seeing these grubby characters within these confines, I think, was just a wonderful way of driving home the differences in classes. And obviously this is a very timely film, as is The Purge Anarchy, as far as the whole 99% and 1% thing, and the gap that's between them, and the callousness that exists as this abyss or this chasm becomes wider and wider.
I would even say it's worse than that because of the level of disdain shown by the rich to the poor, and
which is even worse in the Purge film.
Is it really?
Yeah. I found that Snowpiercer was making a point. The Purge, too, is angry. I mean, there's a rage in that film all the way throughout that I thought was quite surprising and refreshing. But once we finally get to that head car, and we find out just how heinous things are.
Yeah, the massive reveal of what they do with the children.
Yeah, and just his whole attitude. And Evans really showed me something in this film. He's got a couple of really good dramatic moments. There's something to this guy. I hope that one day he gets a role where he can really run with it. This is the
I've
shortchanged
him for years because of the Fantastic Four films, but...
Well, it's all about character. What do you get to work with?
Yeah.
And he gets much more to work with here.
I feel like this in the Captain America films, he's been able to build it himself in terms of what he wants this person's personality to be in, because he's gotten that access.
But he's a little bit confined with the Captain America character. I mean, he can only go so far.
Yeah.
This, though, here, I'm a little dismayed to read that after the Marvel films that he's decided to, I think he said he's decided to quit, and he's going to direct.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he doesn't follow that, because I think he's got some things to show us.
He really does.
But this is an interesting, like all good science fiction, it has something to do with what we're actually going through. It's not really about the future. And just visually, the movie knocked me out.
It's definitely visually arresting. I would have to say my favorite moment is when there's a henchman character who's chasing after them, and when Chris Evans has his fight scene with him, it's weird because everybody I liked in this film ended up dying.
Sure.
And I was just like, no, but I want them to know. Why are you killing the person that I want?
To show how disposable they are.
To show how disposable they are. And the first person who died was somebody I'd really, emotionally connected with, and that really, really hurt. So it's good because these characters are given such well-rounded backgrounds that you're like, oh, well, I really don't want that person to go, but I guess they had to for the sake of whatever this mission is. And I really think that's the strength of the film, is people don't forget who they are and what they're fighting for. That's the biggest problem within movies today, is you'll have a character that says, oh, well, I want to be this, or this is my new goal. Halfway through the film, they forget why they had that goal in the first place. And that dissipates the strength of the story the film is trying to tell. But I wanted to end today with something that we haven't done in a while, and that's to ask, what in general have you been watching this week?
I've been watching a lot of old movies. My dial has not left TCM for quite some time.
Anything that you want to point out to viewers?
No, not really. Just that I think I need that. I need those movies because they focus on character, they focus on good writing, and especially this summer because I think this has been one of the worst summers for film on record.
I have to say I agree with you completely.
It's been atrocious, quality-wise, and I read an article by Michael Phillips, the critic in the Tribune about a week ago, in which Hollywood executives are wondering why attendance is down and revenue is down, and they're saying, well, maybe it's the World Cup, maybe it's this, that, and the other, and he said, no, it's because the movies stink.
The movies stink, and everything good is now on TV in some form or another.
So I find myself going back to the old stuff, because I need I need to be reminded of why I fell in love with movies in the first place. I've had only a couple of occasions to be reminded of that this summer.
Yeah, I think that, in a sense, in the nutshell, is how I feel too. Is like every time I want to go to the movies, nothing original is coming at me, making me go, "Oh, I didn't see that coming."
Rarely am I excited to go anymore.
Yeah, that's something that I've been stuck with too. I hadn't written anything for quite a long time in terms of film reviews until I went to go see Ida. And that moved me enough to make me go, I have to tell somebody about this. This movie needs to be celebrated in some form.
Well, there are a couple things coming. I mean, I know there's one movie you want to talk about next week that I really, really love.
Yeah, Begin Again.
Begin Again, and we'll talk about that. And I was fortunate enough to see Boyhood earlier this week.
Oh, and Boyhood, I want to see Boyhood.
And that one, when we talk about it, well, just that one reinstated my love of film.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait because that's a film I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
Just to watch the path of someone grow up. It reminds me so much of, let's see, a lot of things really. The Wonder Years, Sandlot, those types of things.
Not the same.
It's not the same in terms of tone, but in general.
It's not just the tone. It's not the same.
There's more? Okay. Well, that's our show for this week. I'm Chike Coleman from Sound On Sight. That's Chuck from the News Gazette and the Illinois Times. And we will see you next week with our review of Begin Again. Bye.